take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Thursday, September 3rd, 2015, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. So glad you can be here for this next 2 hours of information and data and analysis and ranting and news and opinion, all by, for, and about the cannabis community. We're hosted on 420radio.org, and you can become a VIP supporter of 420radio.org for as little as $4.20 a month. Your donations go directly to keeping this live stream free and on the air, and keeping our podcast free and on the air. So visit 420radio.org/donate if you'd like to contribute. And advertisers, oh, I'm telling you, you cannabis businesses out there, this is your time to advertise with the Russ Belville Show. Things are happening, and it's going to be expanding quite quickly. You could lock in a very low rate right now while it's still possible. Just let me know by visiting 420radio.org/advertise, or you can always email me, radicalruss@gmail.com. On today's show, we have Madeline Martinez from the world-famous Cannabis Café booked, but I just received an email that she won't be able to make it into the studio. We're trying to arrange to get her on the phone at 3:30. So if so, we'll talk to Madeline at 3:30. She's got some news about the world-famous Cannabis Café. Also, the normal board of directors is in town this weekend for their quarterly meeting, and that means we'll have all sorts of friends, including Dr. Mitch Earlywine will be joining us live in studio on Friday. I'm going to go downtown in the afternoon, pick him up, and he's going to come on down here to Rolla J Studios and talk to y'all live. So get your Dr. Mitch questions ready. And who knows, if there's other board members who want to come over, we'll bring them as well. So also that means we have a show on Friday. A couple of weeks ago, I said we wouldn't have a show this Friday. I thought I'd be flying out to Atlanta. That trip's been postponed for a while, but should be coming along anytime. So we'll keep you informed about that. On today's show, in addition to the Madeline interview, and if we don't get Madeline, I'll give you an interview that I did at the Northwest Cannabis Classic with On One. But also on the show today, we're going to talk about gay bars, juke joints, and cannabis clubs. A look at how it's not the substance we're using, it's the people we're discriminating against that makes a difference in this argument. Also, in Drug War Data Mines, we're going to go back to the monitoring the future numbers. I've done some more number crunching on the use of alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana among people from 8th grade all the way up to age 28. Some surprising information coming out of that data, contrary to what the drug warriors would have you believe. We'll also go behind the headlines where we get a response from the government of the UK as to whether or not marijuana is safer than alcohol. We'll tell you all about that. But first, we'll start off with the 420 radio news. We've got a new evaluation of how much tax revenue could be raised by legalization in the state of Arizona. We've got the first information on demand at Massachusetts' only medical marijuana dispensary. We've got complaints about the MTV Video Music Awards and all its references to marijuana. We've got that initiative in Denver that sought to create pot bars being pulled at the last moment, and also from Denver, a lifting on a quarantine of some marijuana-infused products. Then stay tuned for hour 2. We got plenty more stories to cover, including some news out of the NFL and our daily toker tunes for Groovin' Thursday. I'm Radical Russ. We're live in beautiful Portland, Oregon, and we're back after this.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
This is Joy Beckerman-Maher, and you're listening to 420radio.org. Hi, I'm Alex Rogers, producer of the 4th Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference, the OMMBC. There have been a lot of recent changes to Oregon cannabis laws. Recreational sales start October 1st, new licensing from the state, and changes to medical marijuana. Are you prepared? Join us at the downtown Portland Hilton September 12th and 13th with the industry's top cannabis business experts, political leaders, exhibitors, and nightly networking events. For more information, join us online or give us a call. The OMMBC. Be part of history.
Cannabis culture goes way back, you dig? Way before hippies and beatniks and pigs. Back to hep cats like Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway. Soulful dames like Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday. All the way to old Blue Eyes and the Rat Pack. So come spark up a jazz cigarette and take a trip back to when marijuana was jive, muggles, reefer, and tea. It's the new Viper Hour, Daddy-O, see? The early 20th century archives of blues, jazz, and swing that define the cannabis culture and everything. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. and weekends at 1 a.m. Pacific on 420radio.org, the home for marijuana music. Yeah.
Imagine life without taxes. Let New Era Certified Public Accountants, NewEraCPAs.com, handle your Cannabis 280E and tax strategy. Get your business prepared with New Era CPA's Cannabis Finance Bootcamp. NewEraCPAs.com, with years of experience in the industry, we are one of the nation's leading accounting firms for growers, dispensaries, and ancillary companies from Washington to California. NewEraCPAs.com. It's time for the 420 Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Replays of 420 Radio News are embeddable and shareable from our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/RadicalRuss. Now, the marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is your 420 Radio News for Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. Arizona stands to generate more than $60 million in marijuana tax revenue annually if voters decide to legalize and regulate the plant for adult recreational purposes in 2016. That's according to an independent analysis released Monday by Arizona's nonprofit Grand Canyon Institute. It found the state would rake in about $64 million per year from legal marijuana taxes, including $51 million that would go to K-12 education and all-day kindergarten programs in the state. That's significantly more than the $40 million in tax revenue for education backers of the ballot initiative projected last month, a sum that opponents of the measure lambasted as unrealistically high and a local newspaper characterized as, quote, a lie, end quote, in an August op-ed. Further, the research group projects that if the ballot measure were to pass by 2019, once the regulated market was fully established, the state would raise $72 million annually, with about $58 million for education alone. The executive director of Massachusetts' first and only medical marijuana dispensary said this week that in just 2 months of operation, it provided cannabis to 1,500 patients. That dispensary, Alternative Therapies Group in Salem, was granted permission by state regulators on Wednesday to expand its offerings, receiving permission to fill orders for first-time products such as marijuana oils and baked goods, which many patients prefer over smoking marijuana. Regulators also moved Wednesday to allow a second dispensary to open. A Brockton company, In Good Health, was issued a temporary state waiver to sell cannabis that has not been fully tested for pesticides and other contaminants. Laboratories in Massachusetts are still struggling to complete quality testing required by the state health department under rules considered to be among the most stringent in the country. In its application for a state license, Alternative Therapies projected it would serve about 1,500 patients in its first year. An organization that ran anti-cigarette smoking ads during the Video Music Awards has complained to MTV's parent company about the program's multiple references to marijuana and said it sent the wrong message to young viewers. Show host Miley Cyrus was responsible for most of them, including passing a joint around for photographers backstage. Quote, "It is entirely understandable for viewers to be confused after hearing so much about marijuana during the VMA broadcast to see a powerful advertisement about the dangers of tobacco," end quote, said Eric Ash, chief marketing officer of the Truth Initiative, which sponsored 2 anti-cigarette ads. The message sent by celebrities about marijuana on the VMAs is every bit as persuasive as the show's commercials, said Tim Winter, president of the Parents Television Council, and, quote, "It's really a bad message to young people that marijuana is harmless," end quote, said Kevin Sabet of anti-legalization group Project SAM. Activists behind a proposed Denver ballot initiative to allow some marijuana use in bars and other businesses say they will pull the measure. Their new goal, crafting a compromise measure with city and business leaders. The verbal agreement with a group that includes City Attorney Scott Martinez averts a public vote in November, one that might have allowed more extensive pot consumption in publicly accessible places than city officials and some business leaders were comfortable with. Mason Tvert of the Marijuana Policy Project said they plan to announce the withdrawal Thursday, before Friday's expected certification of the measure for the November 3rd ballot. Quote, "We're not approaching the withdrawal of this initiative lightly," end quote, said Tvert, who started the campaign with marijuana lawyer Brian Vicente, another Amendment 64 backer. A June survey by Public Policy Polling found that 56% of likely voters favored Tvert's and Vicente's proposal, only 40% opposed it. Denver health officials Wednesday lifted a day-old order to hold hundreds of marijuana-infused lozenges and raw marijuana from two businesses after lab tests showed no trace of an unapproved pesticide among their ingredients. The owners of Mountain High Suckers and MMJ America each said they had been using old labels that included among their ingredients a pesticide that today is not approved for use on marijuana. The pesticide, spinosad, had not been barred for use when the labels were made, the owners said. This has been your 420 Radio News for Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. I'm Russ Belville.
Marijuana is not addictive, but listening to the Russ Belville Show is.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details. Tokers, there's no good reason to get your dog stoned. While it might not harm them physically, imagine being a dog who already begs for treats all day, and then imagine that dog having the munchies. Not cool. Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the fourth Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers. Last week, we reported on the petition in the United Kingdom that got over 200,000 signatures, and it was calling on the government to legalize the use, possession, cultivation, and commerce in cannabis. And the official response from the conservative government was that the use of cannabis is a significant public health issue, that legalization would not eliminate the crime committed by the illicit trade, and legalization would not fix the harms associated with drug dependence and the misery that this can cause to families. And of course, like any good drug warrior, they predicted that legalization would send the wrong message to young and vulnerable people. All of these, of course, are easily debunked. Cannabis being a significant public health issue in a country that has pubs overflowing with alcohol is a laugher. That it would not eliminate the crime committed by the illicit trade, but yeah, it would give the illicit trade less trade to commit crime with. This idea that legalization is somehow going to make criminals no longer be criminals is ridiculous. The point is, why do you give criminals the marijuana market? Okay, it's not that taking the marijuana market from them is going to end their criminality. And legalization wouldn't fix the harms associated with drug dependence. Well, in a sense, it would. By legalizing marijuana, you give people less chance to be impacted by hard drug use. They don't have to get their cannabis from a dealer who might sell them a hard drug that they get addicted to. And most of the problem with cannabis is in its prohibition, not the drug itself. And as far as the wrong message to the young, well, we'll talk about that in drug war data mining, but basically the message the young are getting is to wait until college before they start using marijuana. Now, even though this petition in the United Kingdom got over the 2 times more than the 100,000 signature threshold that they needed to force a debate in their parliament, there's 2 committees it has to go through first. Both those committees are majority Tory committees. Tory is their Conservative Party. They're not likely to vote any of them. They'll vote party line against moving that petition on, and so it won't reach the floor of the House of Parliament. But in the meantime, a reporter working for the UK Independent took it upon himself to ask the Home Office a simple question. And in the UK, the Home Office is, well, it takes care of a lot of things, and one of the things it handles is drug policy. So they asked the Home Office, given its view that cannabis causes harm to individuals in society, does the Home Office believe then that cannabis is a more harmful drug than alcohol? Pretty simple question. Is cannabis more harmful than alcohol? And the response from the Home Office was, we wouldn't have anything to add to the government response. And remember, the government response, significant public health issue, wouldn't eliminate crime, harms of drug dependence, wrong message to kids. They don't want to add anything to that. So they refuse to acknowledge that marijuana is safer than alcohol. And this non-response from the UK government reminds me of our former DEA administrator, Michelle Lenhart. You remember her? When she was questioned by U.S. Representative Jared Polis of Colorado, and he asked, is crack worse for a person than marijuana? And she said, I believe all illegal drugs are bad. He asked whether meth or heroin was worse for a person than marijuana. And she says, again, all drugs, they're illegal drugs. And Polis finally cut her off and said, yes, no, or I don't know. If you don't know, you can look this up. You should know this as the chief administrator for the Drug Enforcement Agency. I'm asking a very straightforward question. Is heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana? And she said, once again, all illegal drugs are bad. So that's
drugs are bad.
Exactly.
You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad because drugs are bad. Okay.
That's basically the argument we got out of the former DEA administrator. Now, she was ousted in the wake of a scandal that involved the DEA agent's solicitation of prostitutes in Colombia. Not for her ill-informed views of the dangers of drugs, but for a sex scandal. Now, her successor, Chuck Rosenberg, has finally admitted that marijuana isn't as bad as all illegal drugs. Earlier last month, he had said, quote, if you want me to say that marijuana is not dangerous, I'm not going to say that because I think it is. Do I think it's as dangerous as heroin? Probably not. I'm not an expert. Let me say it this way. I'd rather be in a car accident going 30 miles an hour than 60 miles an hour, but I'd prefer not to be in a car accident at all, end quote. Well, bad metaphors aside, I mean, a 30 mile per hour car accident can still kill you. Marijuana smoking cannot. Why in the hell do we have a head of the DEA who is, quote, not an expert, end quote, on the relative harms of drugs? Imagine asking the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, are solar panels as bad for the environment as burning coal? Imagine asking the Secretary of State, is France as dangerous to travel to as Syria? And then imagine that person responding, well, probably not, but I'm not an expert. That's insane. But still, it is nice to see that our DEA head believes marijuana is safer than heroin. And recently, we've had our president acknowledge that marijuana is, quote, no worse than, end quote, alcohol. Far safer, but, well, maybe someday the officials in the US and the UK will recognize that marijuana's relative harm compared to alcohol isn't subject to your opinion. It's a matter of fact that marijuana is safer than alcohol.
You know, there are times where I've fallen off the wagon.
Yes. And maybe you need to once again, President Obama. I had a friend tell me recently that he has a friend who was a friend of Barack Obama's in school who still believes that President Obama will legalize marijuana on his way out the door at the end of his term. If so, best president ever.
Get the latest updates on the Russ Belville Show by following Radical Russ on Twitter and liking the Russ Belville Show on Facebook.
Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
You're listening to 420 Radio. Listen Wednesdays at noon Pacific for Hemp Radio, podcasting from hempradio.com. Patty Cakes, the Queen of Cannabis, and the crew of Hemp Radio are all veterans of Southern California medical marijuana activism. Check our online listings for Hemp Radio with Patty Cakes and Candace Hawes from hempradio.com. The Fingerboard Extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The Fingerboard Extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone, and Recording King banjos. The Fingerboard Extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com. Arguing for the end of adult marijuana prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It is even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more in this edition of Drug War Data Mining. Yesterday in the Drug War Data Mines, we took a look at data coming from Monitoring the Future, which is the annual report that has been going on for the past 40 years for the tracking of drug and alcohol and tobacco use among the youth. They've been asking 12th graders since 1975 about their various drug habits, and it includes other things too, like mental health and such. For our purposes, we'll concentrate on the drugs. And since then, they've added other categories, including tracking 8th and 10th graders, as well as tracking undergraduates. They'd started doing that in the mid-'80s, undergraduates being within their first 4 years after graduating high school. And then they're also tracking young adults aged 19 to 28. So we went over this data because the latest story coming from this, numerous headlines all around the net about how college students are now smoking pot more often than they're smoking cigarettes. And this was on a daily basis. And indeed, those numbers are absolutely true. Among the undergraduates, 5.9% of undergrads are smoking marijuana on a daily basis, and only 5.2% are smoking cigarettes on a daily basis. But if we expand that just a little bit and we look at young adults aged 19 to 28, 6.9% are smoking marijuana on a daily basis, but 10.7% are smoking cigarettes on a daily basis. So that number is still above the marijuana smoking number. And as we pointed out yesterday, It's not because there's been a massive uptick in marijuana smoking on a daily basis. It's more because there's been an incredible decrease in tobacco smoking. And we can see this if we narrow the numbers down to just the 21st century. Looking back for college students on a daily basis, undergrads, 17.8% of them were smoking daily compared to 5.2% now. When it comes to the marijuana numbers, it's gone up from 4.6 to 5.9. Not as huge a jump. In fact, the jump over the 2000s, from 2000 to 2014, is an increase of 28%. But the real increase to be seen is in the young adults age 19 to 28. Expanding that group from 19 to 28 goes from 4.2% to 6.9%, an increase of 64.3%. So, in fact, the 4.2% in the 2000s, in 2000 was the lowest daily rate that had been measured since 2000. The smoking rate among the 19 through 28-year-olds has decreased by half, about 50.9%. The other thing that we notice is looking at which years are above or below average in the 2000s. Taking a look at the figure for cigarettes is remarkable. Among all age groups, 8th grade through the 19 through 28 age group, 8th, 10th, 12th undergrad, and 19 through 28, since 2008, all cigarette use on a daily basis has been below average for the 2000s. And the lowest rates ever recorded for daily cigarette use among all those age groups was recorded last year. That means cigarette smoking is now at its lowest recorded rates ever across the board from teenage all the way through age 28. And looking at the alcohol figures also show among the high school kids, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade, since 2009, all the years have been below average. And this year, 2014, most recent data, the lowest levels of daily drinking ever recorded. This can even be expanded to the casual users, those that are using monthly. When we look at the cigarette figures, again, lowest figures ever recorded for every age group, except the undergrads, and even that is the second lowest figure ever recorded for monthly use. Looking at alcohol figures, not only all the high school kids on a monthly basis at the lowest levels ever recorded for alcohol, undergrads are at the lowest level ever recorded for alcohol, a decline of 6.4% in the 2000s. The declines for alcohol use among the high school kids are above 25% at the 12th grade level and above almost 60% at the 8th grade level. And for measurements of having been drunk, for the high school kids, again, lowest ever recorded levels of having been drunk. And even when it comes to the marijuana, in the past year among the 8th and 10th graders, the youngest kids, for 2014, it was below the average for the 2000s. And it was a decrease from the year before by about 7 to 8% for all age groups, and a decrease for the 2000s of 28% for the 8th graders, 15% for the 10th graders, and 2% for the high school seniors in their monthly use of marijuana. Annual rates are at the lowest ever recorded, as are lifetime rates. Success is being had in waging the war on the seriously harmful drugs of alcohol and cigarettes among the young people. Lowest ever recorded rates. And yet we did not arrest, ticket, fine, piss test, or incarcerate a single adult to send that message to the kids. All right, stay tuned, folks. When we come back, we got a special interview with On One from Green Stream Radio. He's actually interviewing me. So you get to hear a little bit about my history and how I came to be talking to you on this podcast every day. Madeline Martinez was unable to call in. We'll have her on a future show. And then we'll have time for a radical rant, so stay tuned.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. The cannabis community is a diverse set of people from all walks of life, conservative and liberal, black and white, straight and gay, rich and poor, and everyone in between. Learn more about the people we are freeing from adult marijuana prohibition in our Cannabis Community Chat.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're doing things on the fly here. We didn't think we were going to be able to get Madeline Martinez on the phone, but last minute I checked the commercial break. There was an email there, and it looks like we've got her on the line. But this, for a second, is Mac and Dub. That's right. Madeline Martinez did legalize it. She's joining us on the phone from the world famous Cannabis Café. How you doing, Madeline? Oh, Madeline, did we miss you? Hold on. Oh, dang. She just hung up. There, she's calling back. Hold on. Madeline, do we have you on the line?
You have me on the line.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, man. We were doing some Mac and Dub, and then I thought you got confused, but welcome back to the show.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be with you today, Russ. I'm really excited about going to the Women Grow event with Congressman Blumenauer.
That's right. Our Congressman Earl Blumenauer will be at the Women Grow event tonight. I'll be there as well. You'll be there. Everybody who's anybody is going to be there tonight, so you're quite busy. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
I'm glad to. I'm really excited about your show. It's so popular. I love what you're doing out there.
Well, thank you. And the other big thing you've got going on is the normal board of directors is meeting this weekend in Portland, Oregon. I imagine you're going to have them out to the Cannabis Cafe, correct?
Yes, I am going to have them out to the Cannabis Cafe. I'm very excited about hosting them there and just enjoy being around all of them. It's a thrill and getting our work done and, making sure that we continue ending adult marijuana prohibition across the country.
That's right. And folks, if you don't know the good news, Madeline's opened up what us software guys would call version 3.0 of the Cannabis Cafe out there on Foster Road. What's the exact address and how can people learn more?
Well, the address is 7958 Southeast Foster Road, Portland, and it is, you can go to visit us at our website, USA, world-famous-cannabiscafe.com. And we've got great events going on there, Russ. We have Jorge Cervantes actually in tomorrow, the grow guru himself.
That's right. We've been playing. We've been playing some Jorge Cervantes. We saw him up in Tacoma, and we played a 1 hour grow seminar he did, a half hour he did just taking questions from the audience. It was really great. So Jorge will be at the Cannabis Cafe this Friday. That's tomorrow, September 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'm sure he'll be signing copies of his new book, The Cannabis Encyclopedia. Have you seen this new book yet?
I just have glanced at it because things have been so hectic, as we go on the Hemp Fest tours and all the summer events going on. But I did get to take a couple of glances in there, and someone called me and told me that I was in the book. So that led me in there really quickly. And yes, I'm in there. I was very surprised to find a picture of myself.
Is it one of your nice, pretty garden pictures?
No, actually, it is, I believe, at the Seattle Hemp Fest, and Jorge took a picture of me actually holding a syringe full of Rick Simpson oil.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yes, it was pretty interesting.
Well, of course, everyone listening knows that Madeline Martinez is one of the reasons I am here talking to you right now. She brought me very quickly into the world of marijuana law reform in 2005. You've been doing this for some time longer than that. And so how does it feel now living in Portland with legality, and what do you still think needs to be fixed?
Well, there's a lot that needs to be fixed, obviously, Russ. We both know that. The fact that people still can lose their jobs because they use cannabis is a huge concern to all of us. And custody issues is one of the things that the Normal Women's Alliance works to end and to, try to get into court and mediate and moderate these things. But, there's many concerns that we have. The fact that we still have so many people in prisons for cannabis offenses, I find that offensive in and of itself, since it's now legal.
Yeah, no
We got to
kidding.
get our prisoners out right away.
Yeah, we just got Jeff Mazansky out in Missouri, but there's so many others that still need freedom. And I know Representative Lou Fredericks worked on a bill for expungement, and didn't something for expungement get through our legislature this session?
Yes, it did. Actually, it's on our website, and I believe on the world famous Cannabis Café Facebook about these issues. The fact that it did. It expunges some of our prisoners' offenses and allows them to be released.
Yeah, that's good news.
Or at least expunged from their record,
Now,
Just so important for getting jobs, for moving forward on so many things in your life. I mean, it's horrible to have that kind of record. Let's get it off their record.
Yeah, good thinking. And the latest thing, in the news today in Denver, the activists that were trying to get a bill or an initiative passed for having public consumption, in bars, public vapor lounges and stuff, they've withdrawn that. Here in Portland, it seems to be kind of like we're just going forward and doing what we do as far as a private club. Is that how you're working the Cannabis Cafe? And I mean, do you have to not have paid employees or something like that?
Yeah, what we have are volunteers, and we also have, we're a private club, just as you said. We have, everyone has to be a member when they come in the door. They pay $10, and they sign a document that says that now a member of the Cannabis Cafe.
Yeah, I know another issue is being unable to sell or distribute, like even if you were a licensed dispensary or pot shop, because of the way they set up the regulations to not allow public consumption. There is an emergency session, I understand, coming up in February for the legislature. Is that something that might get addressed by some of the political groups here?
I think it is something that we all are going to address, because we all have a right to enjoy each other's company and be able to socialize safely out of public view so that we can consume cannabis. If it's legal, where do we have to be isolated? No. We need to get out there, and I encourage everyone to get involved in this issue at the legislature. Let's visit it. Let's go and let them hear our voices. And I know I am. Get involved in.
Another thing that I think is interesting in our development here in Oregon is having Washington right across the river from us. And boy, if anybody could have done, putting together legalization and fixing medical as wrong as possible, I think Washington may have covered all the bases. Why do you think there's such a difference in how the Washington legislature deals with marijuana versus the Oregon legislature?
I don't know what the difference is. I really don't. I love being an Oregonian, and those are some of the things I like about being an Oregonian, that we have a whole different system over here in the sense of our legislature works differently than theirs. But I'm happy here. I think Washington, I don't know, you think Washington's ahead of us, right?
Well, just so far as
behind us.
They're behind us as far as what their law is going to do. And if I were to take a stab at it, I would say the main difference is that Oregon had strong women educating our legislature from the get-go, whereas Washington had strong men fighting the legislature from the get-go.
Well, and that's exactly, I'm glad you made that point, because I hate to make it all the time myself, but ever since women got involved, I don't mean that it actually has, I think that we've quickened the pace of legalization, not only in Oregon, but across the country. I know that Allison Holcomb had a lot to do with legalizing in Washington state. She was one of the leaders for it and one of the spearheads of it. And now I think here in Oregon, we do have this huge leadership of women, such as Anna Diaz. We have Lori Duckworth down in Southern Oregon. We have so many, Leah Maurer, who's here with Women Grow. And I mean, there's just so many women in Oregon that are doing it. And, I like to give myself a little credit for that. I was lucky enough to sit as one of the early drafters of Measure 91. And I brought my views to the table. And I think that women bring another view and another way to get to those legislators. I know that I mingled with them for years. And many of them looked at it as a family issue, not just an issue of criminal law. You know what I mean? They looked at it differently once our voices got involved.
Yeah, well put. Nobody wants to think of their kid getting busted in college and then having to pay out of your 401k to take care of their case. Well,
and not only that, but the fact that as a minority, personally, it's the Jim Crow issue, the new Jim Crow, putting our children in jail because they get stopped for driving while, a minority.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another aspect of legalization some people have criticized, is that as legalization has unfolded, it's largely been run by white male business owners. And how do we increase minority participation in this new green rush? What do you think about that?
Well, it's a sticky issue because so many minorities have been afraid to come out and to have a voice. That's why I feel lucky enough to be able to speak up, because most of my counterparts, my brothers and sisters, are either incarcerated or too afraid. If they're not worried about immigration, they're worried about how are they going to keep their jobs. And, that's the hard part of it. I'm trying to get more of them to stand up and be counted. And I see quite a few coming out now. As they see the times changing and the attitude softening towards us, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
More and more, they're going to come out and they're going to be supportive. I've gotten a lot of support from them. Especially at the Cannabis Café, when you go in there, it's so diverse.
Oh, always. We have older vets, young women, everybody in between every time I've gone there.
I know. It's going to be exciting. Tonight we have our Green Room Jam, which is going on down there. Starts at 7. Willamette Week walks in periodically, so it's always a great place to be. And, people are sitting around discussing the issues that you and I are discussing right now. What's next? What's next for Oregon? And what's next for the country?
Yeah. I encourage everyone to check it out. The world famous Cannabis Cafe. What is it? 7955 Southeast Foster?
7958 Southeast Foster.
It's close. 7958 Southeast Foster Road. Check out USA World Famous CannabisCafe.com.
Right. And Russ, as I said, Jorge Cervantes will be there tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night, but evening, 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Yeah,
Jorge
I'm excited.
Cervantes.
I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight at the Women Grow.
Yeah, and he'll be at Women Grow tonight as well. So tickets are still on sale for that Women Grow event. Just Google.
You'll be there too, right, Russ?
Yeah, I'll be there. Women Grow Portland. Going to see everybody while I'm down there. My accountant will be down there as well. Just not, you'll love her. She's a Spitfire. So we'll see you down there at the Women Grow event. We'll see you at the world famous Cannabis Cafe for numerous events, including I'm sure the normal board will be there. We'll hang out.
Oh, I'm sure.
All
See
right.
you there.
Well, I'll let you get all
Bye-bye.
changed. I know you've got manicures and things to get to. So we'll see you at the Women Grow event. Thanks for
And then we
calling.
had a poofing, yes.
That's right. That's right. We'll see you there, and
Okay.
give my best to Smoke Dog as well.
Okay, I will do.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Stay tuned, folks. We're going to have time for a radical rant coming up here, and it's pretty apropos of the subject we were just discussing, and that is cannabis cafes, marijuana lounges, vapor lounges, whatever you want to call it. The activists in Denver have backed off of their initiative that they most certainly would have won. What's going on there? Are there some shenanigans afoot? And is it enough for us to have a place where only cannabis can be used, or should we be allowed to use any place they can smoke cigarettes? We'll discuss that and more in the Radical Rant coming up right after this.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. The Russ Belville Show, where we don't change our position on decriminalization in an election year.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. In the interest of fair and balanced journalism, the Russ Belville Show presents the anti-drug public service announcement of the day.
Young people from all walks of life have volunteered to take part in a frightening experiment. Next. For a short time each day, they are allowing their brains to be altered. Altered to the degree that paranoia has been induced. Altered to cause loss of motor functions. Altered to have adverse effects on reproductive organs. Altered to produce heart malfunction and destruction of brain cells to the point of memory loss, and acceleration of the aging process. The most frightening part of this experiment is that it is not an experiment. It's what slowly happens to you when you keep smoking pot. No one has to alter your brain. You've already volunteered to do it to yourself.
This has been the anti-drug public service announcement of the day. To cure this sort of reefer madness, listen to the Russ Belville Show every weekday on 420radio.org.
420 Radio is brought to you by Sacred Serum, who is focused on creating elegant and sophisticated cannabis solutions through its line of dispensers and vaporizers that come preloaded with the world's finest cannabis concentrate. Sacred Serum's concentrate is made on pharmaceutical-grade supercritical CO2 extraction machines that use absolutely no butane or other toxic chemicals. The Vesica, the company's innovative new way to dab and frost, is now available in dispensaries across California. Sacred Serum, elegance and sophistication concentrated.
This is Mara Felsen, and you're listening to 420radio.org. There you go.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
Today in the news, we learned how Mason DeVert and Brian Vincente have withdrawn their initiative that they turned in more than double the signatures for, and would have certainly been certified tomorrow to appear on the November 2015 ballot for the city of Denver. The question being whether or not marijuana smoking should be allowed in certain public circumstances. It was the limited social use amendment, and the polls showed that it enjoyed wide support. So why did they pull this initiative? It sounds like it would have won. Sounded like the people supported it. And the public excuse they're giving is that they wanted to work with city leaders and business leaders to craft a compromise that they could get along with. So why would you be trying to compromise on something that's going to be more restrictive than the initiative you already had that was in the bag, ready to go on the ballot and probably going to win? There's something afoot here. You know how physicists know that there's dark matter, not because they can detect the dark matter, but they can detect the pull of gravity from it on other objects in the universe? That's my feeling of political shenanigans. Dark shenanigans are afoot here. There is something pulling Mason Tvert and Brian Vicente from running this initiative. Something's pulling against them. Now, could it be internal polling that says they might have lost? 2015 is an off-year election. Maybe the turnout wasn't what they'd expected. Or, and this is what I tend to think, was it threats from the business community and the civic government? Was it threats that they would take this to court were it to pass and tie them up with some lengthy and expensive legal problems? That makes a little bit of sense to me. I could see how that might happen. And that would explain wanting to compromise with these guys to get half a loaf rather than just none. But what will come out of this compromise? Now, what I imagine is going to happen in this circumstance is that they'll find some way to allow private marijuana-only smoking clubs to exist. I think at the bare minimum, that's got to be what comes out of this. A private marijuana-only smoking club, probably a BYOB, bring your own buds kind of thing. The club might be able to have entertainment, might be able to have food, but I'll bet they won't allow alcohol at such a place. Now, the problem I have with this, now, again, half a loaf's better than none. If that is what gets offered, take it. That will be great. But I say that would be great in the context of back in 2000, civil unions would have been great. Or back in 1850, Jim Crow would have been great. Okay? So yeah, I think this would be great as an interim step that partially recognizes our rights and only treats us as second-class citizens. The solution of having a marijuana-only bar. To me, I think the problem that happens in discussing and framing this issue is that people think about the issue in terms of the substance being used, and therefore they say, well, this marijuana substance is a separate substance than alcohol, so it should have a separate place where people can use it. Instead of looking at it the way we look at it, the way the people affected by these decisions look at it, and that is, these decisions affect a class of people, not a particular substance. I belong to a class of people that use cannabis. And so what the government's in effect saying here is this class of people must be separated, must have a separate but equal facility. And last I checked, separate but equal wasn't the way we solved our policy differences in America. Think of us as a class of people, and imagine if they propose these same proposals for other classes of people. Gay people want to go out and socialize? Well, then the only place they can go is a gay bar. Black people want to socialize? Well, the only place they can go is a juke joint. Now, naturally, it's worked out in such a way that gay bars exist and pretty much only gay people go there. And it's naturally worked out that there are juke joints and pretty much only black people go there. But that's by free choice and design, not by legislative fiat, okay? And straight people can go to gay bars, white people can go to juke joints, and gay people can go to regular bars. I shouldn't say regular. Gay people can go to bars and black people can go to bars. They're not by law restricted from one another. Now, I know someone would make the excuse, well, Russ, pot smokers can go to bars too. They just can't smoke pot there. But yeah, but smoking pot is part of who we are, right? Imagine if they said Catholics can come to bars, but they can't wear a crucifix necklace. We're not discriminating against your religion. We're just saying that crucifix necklaces are no good. Well, how would people react to that? That's how I feel when I'm told that I can't use marijuana in a place. Now, I'm not saying or arguing that marijuana should be used everywhere at any time by anyone. Certainly, we can restrict that. But we have come up in this society with mores and laws and regulations concerning people who are altering their consciousness, drinking, and people who are ingesting a drug that causes a stinky cloud, cigarettes. And we've severely restricted where they can make stinky clouds. Used to be bars with alcohol were also places where you could smoke cigarettes. Hell, restaurants, airplanes even. And we severely restricted that. And by and large, not just society, but cigarette smokers themselves have gone along with this. By and large, tobacco smokers have said, yeah, we get it. Smoky bars suck. Smoky restaurants suck. We'll go outside and smoke. An accommodation was made for them, though, wasn't it? They got an accommodation that, okay, yeah, the stinky clouds indoors is kind of a bad thing, but at this bar, we'll put up a covered patio and you can smoke outside. And I know a lot of bars that have those sort of covered patios. And people can smoke outside. And worst case scenario, and I see this driving through Portland all the time, bars that don't have a patio but have people standing out front 10 to 25 feet away from the entrance smoking their cigarettes because they can't smoke inside. And that concession is allowed. But not for marijuana. We can't smoke 10 to 25 feet outside with the cigarette smokers, or that's public consumption, and we can get a ticket and a fine for that. And we can't smoke out in the patios of the bars with the cigar smokers and cigarette smokers and clove smokers even. It is Portland. We can't smoke out there because the Liquor Control Commission has said any place that has a liquor license is a place where marijuana cannot be smoked. Now, if a cannabis cafe is going to exist like Madeline's Wonderful Cafe and the other spot and these other places that exist in Portland that only allow cannabis smoking and it's bring your own buds, and there's no alcohol there, that's fine in that it happens voluntarily. Just like a gay bar is fine. That's the theme of your bar. That's great. Love it. Do your thing. But we shouldn't be denied access to the places where everybody else is allowed to go, the drinkers and the smokers. Because to me, it sets us up in a separate and let's face it, unequal situation. Madeline has great entertainment at the Cannabis Cafe. Don't get me wrong. She got great funk bands that come out there, blues bands that come out there, comedians that come out there. But she's not got the budget. These people a lot of times are coming out and donating their time. She's not got the budget to bring in, let's say, Boz Skaggs. Just to pick a name out of a hat, right? Boz Skaggs could be appearing at a Portland club, though, a Portland theater or large bar. But if I went to go see Boz Skaggs, I'd have to be hotboxing in the car in the parking lot or smoking a joint behind a tree around the corner before I go into the show. But the drinkers and the cigarette smokers will be able to enjoy the show, listen to the music, at least from the outdoor patio even. And that's what I fear in this fight for marijuana lounges, is that what we're going to get is going to be a separate and unequal place. We're going to get our own, we might just get our own bring your own bud places where we can't even buy bud at the place. And when you consider how much more dangerous alcohol is and that we're allowing it to be sold by the drink at places with parking lots and trusting people to drive home sober, it seems that we've developed a risk tolerance that should allow us to have places where marijuana can be served to people. Well, folks, that's all the time we got for Hour 1. Thanks, podcast listeners, for joining us. But join us live sometime. You can check out Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio, or you can check it out on demand at 420radio.org by becoming a VIP member. Visit 420radio.org/donate to access the Toker Talk Radio archives. For everyone here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful legal Portland, Oregon, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it.